Hey, I'm your host, Bree Wild, and this is Marquee Memories. Here we sit down with your favorite artists to talk about their top concert memories as fans. Today's guest makes rock and roll music you've probably heard in action movies, TV shows, video game soundtracks. He's toured with bands like Muse, Bring Me the Horizons, The Rolling Stones, and he has a new album up his sleeve for 2026. Hello, Des Rocs.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so your fans probably know your origin story. I know your origin story because you told me it once. But can you talk about that first moment that you knew you were doing rock and roll for life?
Oh, yeah. Well, I always wanted to play music. I remember being a little kid and seeing kids in elementary school carrying these little cases, and they'd open them up, and then there'd be like this red velvet cloth, and they'd lift that open, it'd be like this beautiful little violin. And I just like wanted to be a part of that in like very initial stages. And when I discovered the guitar when I was around 12 or 13 years old, that was it. It was like game over. And then I really kind of immersed myself early on in a very DIY scene in New York and Queens and Long Island and Brooklyn, just playing basements and bars to absolutely nobody, night after night for many, many years, not being very good, traveling around in a van, working odd day jobs during the day. And then finally in 2018, I started Des Rocs and just kind of doubled down on all things me, for better or for worse. And now I get to be here with you, so...
Tell me about the second grade portrait, though. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in second grade, we had to make this cardboard cutout of who you wanted to be when you got older. And everybody did like doctor, veterinarian, astronaut. And I just had a guy in a black T-shirt and jeans, and it just said rock across his shirt. And my parents still have that in their house, yeah.
Did you come from a musical family, or you just kind of picked that up on your own?
Not particularly. I was the youngest of a bunch of boys, and I was kind of just left to my own devices in a good way. And I would spend a lot of time just digging around in my local CD shop and then taking the train into the city and just seeing bands, often just by myself at like an unreasonably young age. Yeah.
They let you in.
Yeah. I mean, I would just also like walk with a guitar or like an amplifier to the train, hop into the city and play shows all around, just really playing to nobody for a long time.
Just hustling.
Yeah.
So your third album is done and dusted, you've said. TBD on release date, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about it at this stage?
Well, it's a intensely emotional album, and we did it in a way that I've never made a record before. We did it all live because, you know, our show is everything. Like, it's the reason that I live, and we wanted to capture a kind of intangible energy that I feel like can only be had by doing it live as a band. And initially, I'm like, oh, this is such a great idea. Let's do it. While I was doing it, I was like, oh, this is brutal. It's like, there's no copying and pasting. There's no this, there's no that. If the third chorus wasn't really that great, we just did it over from scratch. But it just created something that I think is like really a breath of fresh air today, especially in the modern landscape of rock music where everything is so digital and so gridded and so compressed. And I don't know what's going on. So there's like a lot of air in this record and a lot of emotion and a lot of vocal takes that aren't very, very imperfect. But they just mean something, you know, and I'm really proud of that.
So when it comes to like playing these songs live, you already figured it out. There's no translation once you get to the stage, right?
It was the easiest prep for tour because we were already sick of the songs by the time we started to get ready for tour because we had played them so much. But the other thing is, like, you don't really know how you're going to move to the song live.
Fair.
And that to me is like a whole other thing. It's like, and I'm just on this tour that I'm on right now, I'm still kind of figuring that out. I'm like, oh, do I want to run in place, or do I want to like be more halftime feeling with this one? So that's what's taken me a minute to kind of dial in a little bit. But that's the fun part. You know, once I know how to play it, that's easy.
So yeah, you're 6 dates into your headline tour. How's it going?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, there's just like a concentrated energy at these shows that I feel like we've never had before, where like just everything is amplified. And like when we have that energy, we even go harder, which is very hard to even imagine. Going possibly more crazy than we do.
Your songs are already really high energy.
Oh, so. Yeah. And we try to match that with the movement on stage too.
How did you craft a set list for this tour?
That is the most like painful and laborious thing I ever do in my life. I put so much time and energy and attention. I put more time into making the set list for this tour than I did making my whole album. You know, I went through like, I think that where we ended up is like set list 14C. Wow. You know what I mean? Like because I'm just like, I think of it as its own art form, and it really is, you know what I mean? To just like rearrange all these puzzle pieces. And also it's like playing a game of Twister where it's like, all right, I want one foot on the red circle because that's like the where I started, and I want to pay homage to that and make sure fans get that. But I also want like my left hand on the blue circle because I want people to get all the new stuff too. And then you kind of find yourself, what's the perfect position to be twisted in for the set list? And then also like, I don't want it to be set in stone, you know, like I want it to evolve and breathe as the tour goes on.
You want it not to be totally predictable
Totally.
I'm sure you have fans who come to like multiple nights, so like.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's funny, like I shouldn't let this affect me so much, but when a fan requests a song I don't play, I take it very personally. And I think about it a lot. And this is example, you know, 2 nights ago we were in New Mexico somewhere, and you'll come off stage and go, oh, that was such a great show. And I'm like, oh no, but you didn't play this song. And I go, are you coming tomorrow night? And they go, all right, you got it.
Oh my gosh, you did it just for them.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And my band is like, wait, what? When we're on stage, I'm like, let's do this one. And they're like, oh, we haven't played that in 4 years. I'm like, just let's go for it. You know? So
let's try it, see what happens.
It can be fun, but it's live. I'm like, that's rock and roll.
For sure. Setlist Twister. I like that. I like that. Do you use Setlist at all to find out what you played in the city last time you were there, or? I
do. I do that with outfits too. I think about that a lot. I go, what outfit did I wear last time? I gotta get them something different. But yeah, no, I think about that a lot, especially when places like Europe where we don't go as often. So I'm like, oh, what was the set list there? Let's give them a completely different experience, but at the same time, not abandon the things people love the most. And it's such like a fine line to walk, and I love walking it.
Yeah. Well, now fans are going to know that they can request songs and you might play them.
They already do. It's so toxic, and I just have to run away when somebody says, that was a great show, and I go, 1 second, and then just run away.
Hear. Earmuffs. Awesome. Should we get into some of these memories?
Yeah.
All right.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers and Queens of the Stone Age, Jones Beach in Long Island, New York in 2003. Yeah, I mean, this is the first concert I ever went to. I was a wee little Des Rocs.
Great first concert.
And it was crazy. I didn't even know what touring was, and I didn't know that they did that every night in a different city. So somebody was like, yeah, tomorrow they're in Philly. I was like, what do you mean? They do multiple shows and they go around and they do it again. And I didn't know that. I thought a concert was like a one-time thing that they would play a show once a year. So it was like, I was so ignorant, you know, just like living in this little like Long Island bubble at the time. And yeah, it was just like, it was mind-boggling. And I remember the first of 3 was a band called French Toast, which I've tried to find to this day, and I don't think they exist. But it was unbelievable. And it just like, you know, I feel like there's this movie from a long time ago called like Detroit Rock City maybe, and it's like the journey of them going to this Kiss show. I very much related to that, like navigating the Long Island bus systems to get to that show. Never even been to a venue before, like a proper venue, and like finding our seats and then trying to get home. It was just like, it was profound. And also like that era of the Chili Peppers where it's like they have these smash, big, accessible radio anthems, but at the same time, they still got all that heat of like the young, early Chili Peppers. It's just like an incredible middle piece of that Venn diagram to live in. And it was, at my very, very young, impressionable age, a mind-boggling experience.
So how did you decide to go to the show?
Buddy just got tickets. Yeah, and he said, you want to go? And I thought, yeah, absolutely.
Were you a fan of either Red Hot Chili Peppers or Queens of the Stone Age before?
Oh, big time, yeah.
What were you looking forward to most about the show?
I just think like going to a show, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. You know what I mean? I had no idea what a concert was. And I'd only seen it on TV, and it was just unbelievable. And also, like, my experience before that, I was just, like, very DIY. I would go to these shows in basements in Queens and Brooklyn and Long Island.
And this was a big production.
I didn't know anything like this existed. I thought shows were like people, like there was a couch and there was a couple people playing on the floor in the basement, and it was just like very DIY, and that was the only thing I knew at the time. So like I think that very much like defines what I do too, where there's like this tremendous DIY hustle behind everything I do, but at the same time like it's music that's meant to be larger than life. And then even if I'm playing like last night to like a couple hundred kids in a rock club in Phoenix, you know, like we play at like an arena or like it's Jones Beach, you know what I mean? Like that's the whole mission statement of Des Rocs.
When you went to this concert, do you have any idea then that you, like an inkling that you were like, I want to be on stage someday?
Oh, yeah. Possessed from an early age. Yeah, I started playing in bands I was 13, so it wasn't long after that I was just like, let's go. Who can play an instrument? Who can do something with me, you know?
How do you find your people?
I just like from high school and just in middle school and kids who also happen to have an instrument in their basement somewhere. And
You see someone with a case, you're like, hey, you.
Yeah, I was like, you want to play? I was so desperate. You know what I mean? I wanted to do anything with anyone. I was just so game. I would go all over the place. Like I even remember like taking out ads on Craigslist and jamming with this girl she worked at a cupcake factory in Brooklyn, and after hours she would have access to the cupcake factory. So I remember like taking the train to Brooklyn and jamming in this cupcake factory, and she played cello and I played acoustic guitar, and I don't know what I was doing, but I would do this once a week for a couple of weeks, and like, I would just do anything, like anyone.
I feel like you probably got, you know how they say to be good at something you have to do 10,000 hours? I feel like you got that pretty fast.
I think I just got there.
No, you just
I think I just got good. Yeah, I do. Like, I think I needed like 100,000 hours.
100,000.
Yeah,
right.
Unbelievably slow learner. Yeah, it took me a while.
So what do you like about the Red Hot Chili Peppers as performers? Like what magic of theirs do you want to take and make it your own?
Oh, they just go nuts. You know what I mean? Like, and we go nuts. And not a lot of people can go nuts every night. Like, you can't fake that. We are just so, like, when we're on stage, we've all been through so much trying to, like, really make it in this thing called rock music. Yeah. Like, we've all been through so much that when we're on stage for that 90 minutes,
like, this is it.
Yeah, we're just so profoundly grateful that we get to be there. And we play it like it's our last time, because you never know when it will be. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Chili Peppers brought like a similar, just like unhinged electricity to their music. And you can't fake that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can perform, you can get a little crazy, but to really be present in that moment in an authentic way and connecting with other human beings over that, like, that's what we stand for.
I've never seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I also never read a review of them where anyone said they were phoning it in.
Yeah, definitely not.
So there. Jones Beach, how far was that from you?
Like 20 minutes from where I lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to that venue a lot after that, or?
I've been a couple of times. Yeah, I've had friends play there, and I've seen other bands play there. And that's very much like a holy place in Long Island for music. There's a tremendous history there, and it's just really cool because it's right on the water.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Should we move to Muse?
Muse at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island in 2010. Yeah, I grew up obsessed with Muse. I really did. I love that band a lot. And I remember going to the show at Nassau Coliseum, and it's like, when you're so far back in the arena in the last seat where your head hits the ceiling. Like if I jumped, I would hit the ceiling, because it kind of meets there. And they brought so much production that the power got cut. And my friend and I were like, now's our chance. Let's do it. So it was completely blacked out in the venue. We ran all the way down the stairs, jumped over the barricade into the pit, right into the front row. Power came right back on. We were front row for the rest of the night. And it was like an unbelievable experience. And then when I got to tour with them in Europe a couple years later, I got to tell that story on stage. So it was really special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, like the perfect amount of time for you to get up there. It's like something was on your side.
It was perfect. When I said on stage, I'm about to cut the power right now. If anybody wants to make a move, right. No, I didn't do that. Yeah.
That is so cool. What do you remember about the show?
Oh, it was just like all my favorite songs live, and it just sounded so good. It sounded like the record, but a live version of the record. And it's tough to just be that good that consistently. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the thing that people don't talk about a lot is consistency. You know what I mean? Because like, it doesn't matter what you've done for the last 30 years before that. You have to perform right then and there at the level that everybody has of you in their head. And you might be on show 42 and you might be really tired and not feeling so great. And maybe not even in the prime of your career anymore, but you still got to like deliver.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about that a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then you opened for Muse.
Yes.
So how did that come about? And what was your reaction when you found out that you're opening?
Crazy. Really crazy. Like they just reached out and asked us to open for them in Europe as direct support on their Simulation Theory tour. And it was a dream come true. It was like a real bucket list moment. It was like a Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of thing. It was thankfully having good health. But it was unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, Muse is known for like their big production. And so do you remember anything from your show specifically or touring with them?
Well, Muse's production, like when we were on the tour with them, it was like a carnival backstage. There were like these inflatable monsters that would come out halfway through the show. And I remember like tiptoeing around like dancers and all these different things. It's an unbelievably detailed and massive production in a way many bands don't do anymore. It's almost like a modern like Iron Maiden and like the kind of things they have going on. And it's a really incredible show.
I know that they're fans too. They always note on set lists like different intro or extra, like the detail that the fans put in about like the tiny little guitar parts they play. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just that attention to detail.
And that's also like what I love too about like the live format is just reimagining the songs, the way you get into them and out of them. You know, we spend a lot of time just thinking about that kind of stuff and creating moments that have nothing to do with songs. You know what I mean? People always say like, how many songs can I play tonight? Oh, you have a 10-song set. I never think of it like that. I'm just think of like, how many moments can I create tonight that are special that people remember? Even if I play 2 songs, but those 2 songs are stretched out over 20 minutes. You know, it's like, it's way more important to me than just like what a song is. My nightmare is getting up there and just playing song as it's recorded, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like we're always
like you could just be at home listening to this yourself.
For sure. We're always like reimagining even like the way we play the parts and stuff.
Yeah, because you want to give your fans a unique experience.
For sure.
How did you become a fan of Muse? Was it just that like they're on the radio all the time, or?
I would just go to the CD store and I would just pick out CDs that look cool. I would ride my bike there, and as like a 10-year-old, and I just picked out like I remember I picked out like Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill because it was like been out for a while, so it was pretty discounted. It was like $5, and then a 9 Inch Nails instrumental album, and then a Britney Spears album, and then Muse Absolution. And I remember taking those 4 home and like listening to them in sequence. Yeah.
That's eclectic.
Yeah. And like my tastes are very eclectic. Like I really love all genres. I really do. I don't have any sort of like brand or genre identity that boxes me into any one thing. I love all music.
That's awesome. But Nassau Coliseum, how's that venue?
It was great. It doesn't really exist anymore.
Oh.
You know, it's funny because I got to play UBS Arena a couple weeks ago, and that's kind of like the new Nassau Coliseum.
Okay.
And on stage, I remember telling a story, you know, I used to play this tiny little bar across the street from Nassau Coliseum, and I would walk outside after playing to nobody, and I would say, one day, I'm going to play there. And then it was demolished. So I never got to play there. So now, UBS was a good backup.
Okay. There's a substitute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we go to Fleetwood Mac?
Fleetwood Mac at Madison Square Garden, New York City, 2013. I had no idea who Fleetwood Mac was. I never listened to it. I was like woefully ignorant. It's like something that I thought like boomers listened to before the word boomers existed.
Boomers do listen to it, but
like I will admit when I'm just completely closed-minded and I went to the show and it blew me away. It's so crazy because I feel like live music and shows has an ability to make you feel something that you did not know you were capable of feeling before you went into it. And that is so rare. Like there's no other situation where you feel an emotion that you didn't know you could feel. Like you're never in line waiting to get a smoothie and you go, oh, I felt something I didn't know I was capable of feeling in this moment.
Yes.
Every emotion that you may have, you can kind of predict that you could have.
That makes sense.
I might be getting a little too heady on this one, but like I just remember being so floored with the performance in every song and every aspect of it.
So you weren't a fan going into it. Who took you? Who brought you to the show?
A girl I was dating at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any idea. You were like, okay, I'll go.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm very open-minded. I'm down to go to anything. You know, I really am. I love new experiences. I love getting outside my comfort zone. And that ended up being very much in my comfort zone, which I didn't know at the time. I was just very much ignorant of all the history and just really living in the moment and being present. And that ability to be present was so rare because everybody else knows the history in a way I didn't. So I got to just enjoy the show and the music.
That's unique.
And I think that was like, I'm kind of like grateful for that ignorance, you know, in a weird way.
When you go to shows as fans, do you look up their set list or do you like to be surprised?
I never look up a band set list ahead of time. I like to be surprised. I like to know what they're going to do that night. It is so weird to me when I play a show and the band puts a set list up for the tour like immediately. Like I was like, who wants to look at this?
Some people study it.
Yeah, it's almost to me like sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll get like a recommended video of myself. And it'll be a guy standing in the back filming the entire show on his phone for like the entirety of it. And I go, this guy didn't even get to go to the show. You know, he just like filmed it the whole time. So similarly, I'm like, there's just like a personality type of somebody who like wants to know everything that's coming or the guy who films the whole show. And I can't really relate to that, but to each their own, you know?
Yeah, fair. Do you remember any song specifically that sort of like punched you in the face?
Oh boy. The Chain, without a doubt. And then I started immediately, like the second I went home, I was like, I gotta play this song. So the band I was in, we started covering it right away.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you became a fan after that.
Oh,
Like,
huge fan.
They sold you.
Yeah.
I think it's called It's called frisson, I think. When you art moves you, I think, and gives you like a visceral, like the goosebumps or something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an ancient primordial emotion and art form. I mean, we've been singing since we've been humans. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's unbelievable to think about. You think about film. Okay, film is great. I love film. We're in LA. Film is like 110 years old. It is like a baby art format.
Yeah.
Painting, okay, we had like cave drawings and things like that. But real painting on canvases, they're a couple thousand years old. That's a baby.
Yeah. Compared.
Music, ancient.
Yeah. Let's talk about Stevie.
There's not a second of the show where I go, oof, she's not really hitting the mark. You know what I mean? There's not a second of the show where I'm like, that was a little pitchy. You know what I mean? And even to the extent that it all works. You know what I mean? So again, like we were talking about earlier, like this ability to consistently deliver even well into years that no other profession is expected to deliver at. Nobody's like, oh, Michael Jordan right now, right? Like, can he play in the NBA at the level he did? Like, no. And music is the only place where we expect our artists to deliver at the exact same consistency when they're 75 as when they're 25.
Yeah, there was another artist I interviewed that said, like, actors don't have to re-deliver the scene, you know, like 45 times, you know, after they've done it, but we have to sing the same song hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
And like, I'm going to start investing in songs that are easy to sing because my songs are hard to sing. I got to start planting some seeds of songs that are like more like a Rolling Stone singer. I'm just like, yeah, you know, like.
Or the ones you can like hold out the microphone to the audience and be like, you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this album I'm belting the whole time and it takes a toll for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You're crafting a set list, like a lot of artists talk about like doing like moments, like peaks and valleys, but a lot of your music is really high energy and intense. So where do you take a break or do you not? Never?
Oh, do I take a break during the show?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Or
No.
like, is there some of your songs that are like slower that you're like, I'm going to put this here so I can take a sip of water?
Yes. So, well, okay, a couple things on that. Dynamics to me are everything. Like, I hate nothing more than when I see a band, they just bang you over the head for 90 minutes.
Okay.
Like, you're so desensitized halfway through that you can't even appreciate what's coming next. So for me, I feel like a good live show is like a good film. It's something that's complicated and multi-layered and dynamic, and there's different beats, and I want to laugh and I want to cry, and at some point I want to rock, and all of those elements will hit harder because they are next to things that differentiate what came before and after it. You know what I mean? So dynamics are everything. It is such a lost art. It's, I think, why it takes me so long to put a show together.
14C.
Yeah, you know, it really does. Like, there's so many different ways to tell the story of your music. You know what I mean? If 20 directors made an Elvis biopic, they would all be a lot different than Baz Luhrmann's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm almost like the director of my own subject. And it's like, which movie do I want to show? And how do I want to showcase this music? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but it's what I love.
After a show, like what has to happen for you to feel like that was a good show, I nailed it, couldn't be better?
I have to be almost unable to move or stand after
like
the show.
Gave 110%, now you're a puddle on the floor.
Yeah, like something physiologically happens to me within like 50 minutes of getting off stage where I'm almost going to collapse. You know what I mean? And like...
That's how you know you...
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
But I know no other way, you know?
Yeah. You told me that you thought of a few other shows while you were coming up with this. Would you want to talk about any of them?
I thought of so many because I was living in Brooklyn right when they finished the Barclays Center, and I saw Jay-Z in 2011 in Brooklyn, and I was just floored by the musicality of the event, and the band and the musicians are just so unbelievable. And you take that and the way they kind of like reproduce the songs for live, unbelievable. And I'm going to take it also back to another show I saw in those really early DIY days before I saw Queens of the Stone Age, which I saw this tiny little punk ska band called Patent Pending in a bar in Queens. And like, there was maybe 100 kids jam-packed into a place a quarter the size of this room, and they're doing the show and everyone's into it. And then they hop off stage and they're selling merchandise and t-shirts and he's slinging all this stuff. And I was like, what is this world, this hustle? I was like, unbelievably blown away by it.
I toured with the guys from Patent Pending. They were a vendor on Bamboozle Roadshow I went to. They were just there selling shirts, but they were the most like endearing people in the whole world.
Yeah.
Like everybody would love them just because of how they are.
It was so cool. I was blown away. It was like almost like a mini Kiss. Like they were doing merchandising and they were doing all this other stuff around the music, which I was wholly ignorant of. I was like, oh, you sell T-shirts too?
Yeah.
And you sell CDs, and they're like taking email addresses down. And there was just this like extra electricity of hustle.
Yeah.
That like as a born and bred East Coaster, like I've always had that in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This kind of thing, you know?
Was that a little inspiring?
Oh, for sure. It's almost just like, oh, this is who I am. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was like, I just love this amount of action and movement.
Yeah. Any others you'd like to?
Oh, there's so many. Can I look at my phone because I wrote down one?
Of course.
Okay. I'm not sending text messages or being rude. Okay. Here's another really good one. We played a festival called Sonic Temple in Ohio in 2024, and we played the main stage, which was really cool, a couple bands before Queens of the Stone Age. And it was their first show back in 5 years. And you've never seen so many artists lined up on the side to watch it for their first show back. And it was like, you felt like the freshmen in high school and you were watching the seniors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were like the cool older kids, and they were just so good and not playing in five. I haven't toured in 18 months, and I felt like it was really tough to get my sea legs back. They hadn't played in 5 years. They walked out there with no intro music or anything like that, picked up the guitars and started playing. And I was like, it was just one of the coolest things. And artists, humongous artists watching with me, just like mouth on the floor. Like you've never seen a cooler band, you know, and to come out ice cold like that at a festival, oh, so cool.
The festivals you've played, have you also been excited about like seeing other bands on the lineup that are like, oh, I'm such a fan of this band? Like,
Oh, totally, yeah. Festivals are great to like see bands that you love, and you don't have
you're
to
like,
go
I'm
out of your way.
here to work, but also I'm here as a fan.
Yeah, and you just kind of crawl out of your little trailer and you can go see it. You don't have to like go all the way somewhere and park. You know, it's great. Yeah.
You are on tour, so you're kind of busy touring, but do you have any shows that you're going to as a fan coming up?
Ooh, that I'm going to as a fan coming up. I actually don't. But I think Bruce Springsteen's going on tour
He is.
again. Yeah, and I really want to go see another show like that.
Have you seen Bruce before?
I have, yes, yeah.
Of course you
I mean, it's one of the few times
I feel like you've seen. I can just tell you've seen Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen before.
It's like one of the few times I've just like wept in person, at a show. And I really want to see that. I think I'm making like, having not seen so many of my favorite artists like Prince and Tina Turner, like I really want to make a concerted effort to see the greats as much as I can.
That makes sense when you're not touring.
Yeah.
This is probably going to come out in like a month. So are you allowed to tell us the release date of your album or title of your album or anything if this comes out in a month?
I don't know. Am I allowed to? No, I can't say anything. Yeah.
Can't say anything yet.
But soonish.
Are you going to like, is it going to be like a lemonade drop like overnight?
No. You'll have notice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least we'll have notice.